So class, welcome to the lecture number. So class, welcome to the lecture number 32 of the course. So in this lecture, I will talk about the working. I will talk about the working of transformer. So though I have tried to kept this topic as much precise as I can, because majority of the things we have already discussed before, okay, in lecture number 30 and 31. So majority of the same things will be repeated here. So I am saying how a transformer works. So let me draw the diagram of a transformer first. So I have here primary winding and I have here secondary winding. Okay, there I have some, I will keep it like this. I will not connect it to anything right now. So I am saying this is my core section, and this is my primary winding, and this is my secondary winding. So the primary winding I'm saying it will have a number of turns, and the secondary winding it will have n2 number of turns. Okay, so depending upon the number of turns, if n1 is greater than n2, so it will be a step down transformer, because output we are taking across the secondary. So if n2 is smaller, output voltage will be smaller. Okay, so if n2 is greater than n1, then the output voltage here it will be greater than the input voltage here. Okay, so depending upon the number of turns, I can say that it will this transformer will act as a step down transformer or a step up transformer. So this is the primary. What we do, so for the transformer to work, we should have a changing flux here. Okay, this flux that is generated in the core, it should be the flux that travels through the core, it should be of changing nature. Okay, means it should not be constant flux. What you need a relative motion between the field, okay, and the conductor. Okay, so if we are using an DC source here, what will happen, though the field will be generated, but it will be a constant field. Okay, so because of that constant field, there will be no EMF generated, because EMF generated is proportional to rate of change of flux. So the field should be changing, okay, or the flux should be changing. So that is only possible in AC, because we cannot move the conductors, we cannot move the core, because this is a static device transformer. So what we are doing, instead of moving for producing the changing field, we are using the AC source here. Because what is AC? If you will see AC voltage or current or flux, anything, it will be of this waveform. So at any instant, at every instant, it will have different values. At this instant the magnitude is this, at this instant the magnitude is this, and at this instant the magnitude is this. Okay, so that is why we are using AC. Got it? So what we are doing, so we are saying when a primary of a transformer is connected to an AC supply, I am saying when the primary of a transformer is connected to an AC supply, the current flows through the primary winding. Okay, I am saying the current I, it flows through the primary winding, and this when this current flows through the primary winding, magnetic field builds up. Okay, due to this current, the magnetic field builds up, and this flow, the flow of the current that flows in the primary winding, it will be as per the Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. Okay, so I am saying the magnetic field that builds up in this primary, so it is due to the mutual inductance. Mutual inductance means something is happening here, because of that thing some flux is generating here. Okay, in a transformer, this is an electrical circuit, this circuit is an electrical circuit, this circuit is also an electrical circuit, but this circuit here, it is a magnetic circuit. Means two electrical circuits are coupled together through a magnetic circuit. Okay, so what I am saying here, when primary is energized is energized by an AC supply, AC should be capital, AC supply, what will happen, comma, some current will flow, the current I flows in the primary winding, and due to the mutual inductance magnetic field builds up. Okay, so because of this AC supply, when we are energizing this primary with AC supply, some current will flow in the coil, and because of this flow in the current coil due to magnetic inductance, some field will build up, and the flow of the current in this coil, it will be as per the Lenz's law. I flows in accordance to Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. Okay, so what I am saying, this magnetic field builds up, and the flow of the current in the primary, it is in accordance to the Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. Okay, so in a transformer, once you have constructed a transformer, you cannot change the number of turns. Okay, and the length of the conductor, it is also fixed. Okay, so if length is fixed and current is fixed, length and turns both are fixed, so how can you change the flux? Okay, how can you change the field? So that I am saying this is AC. Okay, and the current that is flowing, so I am saying initially the current is 0. When the current is 0, the flux is also 0. So as the current starts building up from 0 to its maximum value, this is 0 to its maximum value, the magnetic field, what will happen to the magnetic field? The magnetic field strengthens. Okay, this is 0, this is maximum. I am saying this is I max. Why I am saying why the current magnetic field strengthens when current starts moves from 0 to its maximum value? Because you know that what is MMF? MMF is nothing, H is equal to nothing but Ni by L. Okay, so this is an electromagnet. In an electromagnet, N and L are fixed. Once you have constructed a transformer, you cannot change N and L. Okay, so N and L are fixed. So the only way you can change the intensity of the magnetic field intensity, it is by controlling the I. So as I starts from 0 to its maximum value, H also builds, the value of the H will also increase. What I am saying, H is directly proportional to I. As I increases, then H also increases. So what is H? H is the magnetic field intensity. Magnetic field intensity means how strongly the field, it affects any magnetic material, or how strongly the field, it attracts or it exerts a force on any magnetic material that is placed in its magnetic field. Okay, so that is magnetic field intensity H. Okay, so we also know that the magnetic flux density B, it is given by mu naught mu r into H. Okay, so this mu naught is fixed, 4 pi into 10 to the power minus 7. Mu r is the relative permeability of the medium, and what is H? H is the magnetic flux density. So I can say for a particular medium, mu r, what is mu r? Is constant for a particular medium. If I will talk about the soft iron, it is 1000. If I will say for air or vacuum, mu r is 1, means for particular medium it is constant, and mu naught is also constant. So I can say that B is directly proportional to H, and H is proportional to I. So if I increases, H will increase, and the magnetic flux density will also increase. So I being an AC quantity, when current is 0, magnetic field intensity is also 0. So as the current starts moving from its 0 to the maximum value, the magnetic field intensity, it will also strengthen. H will also strengthen, means it will become more and more stronger. Got it? So though this B, if you will see this, if you remember that BH curve, I am saying here that B is directly proportional to H, but it is valid only for the linear region. Like if you see this is B, if you remember this is H, this is B, I am saying initially there is a linear relation between B and H up to some point. If you will increase the H further, B will not increase. That is called as a saturation region. So this region, from this point to this point, this is linear region. In this region, I am saying that B is directly proportional to H. Okay, so I am saying here what I was saying here. So I am saying when the primary is energized by an AC supply, okay, this is the AC supply. So what is happening? The current I flows in the primary winding, and due to the mutual inductance, the magnetic field builds up in the primary winding, okay, and the flow of this current is according to the Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. Next I am saying, as the current, this is the AC quantity, it starts moving from 0 to its maximum value, the magnetic field also strengthens, and this magnetic field is given by d phi by dt. Okay, so I also told you why we are using AC here, because we are saying that in AC the magnitude also always keeps on changing at any instant. Okay, so because of that change we will get a changing flux here, and for the Faraday's law, there should be changing flux. It should not be a constant flux. Okay, so as we cannot move the winding or the core for generating the changing flux, we cannot do that in transformer, because the core and winding, they are fixed. So what we are using an AC supply here for generating the changing flux here. Got it? So I am saying it will form an electromagnet, this primary coil that is wounded around this metallic material. This will form an electromagnet, and this in this electromagnetic magnet, the magnetic lines of forces, they will expand. Magnetic lines of forces will be generated, and they will expand outward from the coil. Means I am saying this is an electromagnet. In this electromagnet, the magnetic lines of forces, I am saying this, suppose this is the magnetic lines of forces, they will expand and they will try to move outward. Okay, they will try to move outward, forming a closed path. Okay, I am saying the flux can move in this direction. So this is a closed path. This is the useful flux. So the flux can move here like this. So this is in this direction. So this is phi, loss, leakage flux. Okay, so I am saying this electromagnetic forms the magnetic field, magnetic lines of forces, which expands outward from the coil, forming a closed path of magnetic flux. So what I am saying here, I am saying, so the electromagnetic that is created because of this changing current that is flowing in the primary, and which is wound over a magnetic material, over a transformer limb. So it will form an electromagnet, and I am saying this electromagnet forms the magnetic lines of forces which expand outward from the winding, forming a closed path of magnetic flux. So this way a closed path of the magnetic flux is created. So depending upon, I will again draw the transformer here, because flipping the page again and again, it is not feasible. I'm saying some current I is flowing. This is N1, this is N2. Okay, so I am saying this some flux that is flowing through here, it is called phi useful, and it is flowing through a magnetic material of mu r 1000, okay, for soft iron. Got it? So but I told you that there is a difference between the electrical and magnetic circuit. In electrical circuit, we can make the current equal to 0 by using insulators or by breaking the circuit. Okay, we can make the current 0, but in case of a magnetic circuit, we cannot make this magnetic flux equal to 0. Even if you are using perfect magnetic shields, still there will be some leakage of flux. Okay, though we are saying that the medium surrounding this transformer core, it is air or vacuum, which has relative permeability equal to 1. This is soft iron, this is air, which has relative permeability equal to 1. Though this one is very smaller as compared to 1000, but still some leakage flux will flow through this air gap. Okay, air path. Okay, so it will start from here and end here. So this flux, it is called leakage flux. So leakage flux, in ideal case, we say that we have a perfect transformer or ideal transformer where there is no leakage, or mu r air is equal to 0. So there we can say that total flux that is generated, it will flow through the core. So and at that time, phi total will be equal to phi u useful. This is ideal case or ideal transformer. But actually, you cannot make the flux, all the flux to flow through the core. There it is some amount of flux, maybe 1% or 2%, that will flow through the air gap. So that flux is called leakage flux. So that time phi total will be phi useful plus phi leakage. This is practical transformer. Got it? So though this phi leakage is very small, and it is very small, I am saying it is very small, and phi useful, it is very high. We can make it very small and we can make it very high. Only how is it possible to make the leakage flux small and useful flux very high? Possible. It is only possible if the core has very low reluctance. If the core has very low reluctance, and you know what is the formula for reluctance? It is S is equal to L divided by mu naught mu r into area of cross section A. So I am saying, if I will increase the permeability of a material, what will happen? Because S is inversely proportional to mu r. If you will say the length of the conductor cannot change once the transformer is constructed, mu naught is constant, and area of the cross section also cannot change once you have constructed a transformer. So I am saying L, mu naught and A are fixed for a particular transformer. Then I will say S is inversely proportional to mu r. So if I am increasing the reluctance, permeability, what will happen to the reluctance? Reluctance will decrease. Okay. So I am saying this leakage flux, it is not cutting both the windings. Okay. This leakage flux that is generated here, it is linked with only the primary winding. Okay. However, this useful flux, it is linked with both the primary and the secondary winding. So that flux which cuts both the primary and the secondary winding, that flux is called as the useful flux. Okay. So I am saying useful flux or magnetic flux produced cuts both the primary and secondary winding. So this is useful flux. So I already told you the magnetic flux that is generated in the core, this phi u, it depends upon the number of turns and current I. And number of currents, it is fixed. L is fixed, but I, it can be controlled. If you will increase I, H will increase. If H will increase, B will also increase, means flux will increase. Okay, so what I am trying to say here, I am saying magnetic field strength. This is next sentence. I'm saying magnetic field strength that is generated in the core depends on number of turns, comma, current and length of conductor. Okay, it depends on these three factors. So magnetic flux and current are, so I can say that magnetic flux and current, they are directly proportional. Okay, so I can say that magnetic flux and current are directly proportional. Okay, because we know that this H, it is proportional to I, and B, it is proportional to H. Okay, so we know that B is equal to phi by area A. Okay, so I can say that this phi is directly proportional to I. Okay, that is why I am writing magnetic flux and current are directly proportional to each other. Okay, directly proportional to each other. Got it? So let me show you again. Let me draw the diagram of a transformer. So next I will, let me first draw the diagram, then I will tell you what I want to derive now. So I'm saying this useful flux, it is very large as compared to this leakage flux. Okay, suppose I'm saying I have a load here, variable load RL. Okay, and the current here I know I will represent is by I2, because I cannot represent I, because earlier I was not representing anything here, but now I am representing, so I will take I2 here, and here I will take the current as I1. Okay, this is N1, this is N2, this is the magnetic flux or path of magnetic flux. Got it? So firstly I will say that we know that EMF that is generated because of this electromagnetic induction, it is given by E is equal to minus N d phi by dt. This minus is because of the this is the effect E, that is the EMF that is generated here. Suppose I am saying E1, and here it is V1 voltage. So here the cause is V1 and the effect is E1. So this E1 will be opposite to V1. So that is why we are using this negative sign here. Okay, so minus and d phi by dt. So suppose that I am saying this phi, I am saying this as current is a sinusoid, voltage is a sinusoid in AC, flux will also be sinusoid. Okay, so taking a sinusoid, I will say N d by dt. How a sinusoid is represented? It is represented by magnitude into the sine or cosine function. I am taking sine of omega t here. Okay, so this is minus N d by dt of phi m sine of omega t. Got it? So I will take E is equal to, because we know that phi is equal to phi m sine omega t. Okay, so putting phi here, I am writing phi max sine omega t. I will get minus N, so omega into phi m cos of omega t. Okay, cos of omega t. Got it? So this is the value. Wait, I made a mistake here. This is so I am saying it is phi max. We are taking cos cos omega t. This is cos of omega t here. So it will be minus n omega into phi m cos, differentiation of cos is sine. So minus sine, it will become E is equal to minus, will become positive, n omega phi m sine omega t. Okay, this is the value of the induced EMF in a coil, and omega phi m cos omega t sine omega t. Okay, so you know that for a transformer N, okay, N and omega is the frequency. So the frequency of the supply here, it is fixed. You cannot change the frequency of the supply. It is omega is equal to 2 pi f. It is fixed, you cannot change it. So and n, once you have constructed the transformer, you cannot change n. Okay, so I am saying omega, and for a transformer, I am saying for a transformer n and omega are fixed. Okay, so if n and omega are fixed, so I will say that E will be proportional to phi max sine of omega t. Okay, so I am saying E will be proportional to phi m sine omega t. So when will we get the maximum value of E? So I am saying E will be maximum when sine omega t will be equal to 1. When omega t will be equal to 90 degrees, so sine omega t will be equal to 1. So I am saying taking sine omega t is equal to 1, I will get the maximum value of E, that I will represent by E max. So I am saying E max is equal to n omega phi m, because sine omega t is equal to 1. This is the maximum value of the induced EMF, E max. This is max value of induced EMF. Okay, so this is the maximum value of the induced EMF. But you know, we do not measure this EMF or current in terms of its maximum value. We do not measure it in terms of maximum value, neither we measure it in terms of its instantaneous value. So we measure the value of voltage or current in terms of the RMS value. So what is the RMS value of E? RMS value, you know that RMS is given by max divided by root 2. Okay, so what will be E RMS? It will be E max divided by root 2. So I will substitute I have derived what is E max. So E max is nothing but n omega phi m divided by root 2. Okay, so what I am doing here, what is omega? I know that omega is nothing but 2 pi f. It is the supply frequency. Omega is equal to 2 pi f, and f is equal to 50. So I will write here n. What is omega? 2 pi f by root 2 into phi m. So if you will solve this, you will get E RMS is equal to n into root 2 pi into f into phi m. So root 2 multiplied by pi is nothing but 4.439, and multiply by 4.439 f phi m. So taking it in a road figure, I will write E RMS is equal to 4.44 f phi m into n. Got it? So this is the RMS value of induced EMF. Induced EMF in a single phase transformer. Okay, so we know that primary frequency and maximum flux is same on the primary and the secondary winding. Okay, so I am saying this flux that is generated here, it is also flowing here. So whatever will be the maximum value of flux here, same will be the maximum value of flux here. Okay, so I can say if f and phi m is same on the primary and the secondary side, so I can write that ERMS generated on the primary side, ERMS 1 is equal to 4.44 f phi m n1, because turns are different. Similarly, ERMS on the secondary side is 4.44 f phi max n2. So what I am saying that frequency is same on both the sides, because I'm saying a transformer, it does not change the frequency of the system, and also the flux, same flux is linking with the primary and the secondary winding. So I'm saying the maximum value of the flux is same in the primary and the secondary, because same flux is flowing. Okay, so that I am representing by F and phi m, they are constant in both ERMS, same in winding 1 and winding 2. So from there I get the value of the RMS induced voltage in winding 1 and winding 2. So well, next what will we do, let us take the ratio of these two quantities. Okay, so ratio, I will take ERMS 1 divided by ERMS 2, it will be N1 by N2, and you know that Ohm's law, V is equal to IR. Okay, so V is equal to IR. So I will say that V is equal to IR, so V equal to I into R. Okay, leave it. Okay, I am saying I'm saying the level of the power here and the level of power, means I am saying that this transformer, it is only supplying power, transferring power from this circuit to this circuit, means whatever is the power on this side, almost same will be the power on this side plus some losses. Okay, so I am saying it is transferring the power, but it is transferring the power from one circuit to another circuit at some different voltage levels, means here the voltage level will be different, here the voltage level will be different. So what is power? You know that power is nothing but V into I. So I am saying power on primary is almost equal to power on secondary. Got it? So power on primary is V1 I1, and power on secondary, or E1 I1, I will write it like E1 I1, and power on the secondary is E2 I2. Got it? I told you in your first lecture that it does not change the power and frequency remains same, though there are some losses in the transformer which are very small. So I am saying that E1 I1 equal to E2 I2. So E1 by E2 is equal to E1 by E2 is equal to I2 by I1. So I told you E1 by E2 we derived here. E1, this is ERMS, so this is also here ERMS, but I am writing here simply by E1 and E2. So here I can also write, I will write one more step after this. I will simply represent ERMS 1 by E1 and ERMS 2 by E2 is equal to N1 by N2, because in numericals in books this is taken like this, E1 and E2, because ultimately how we are representing voltage or current in terms of the RMS values. So I am saying E1 upon E2 is equal to N1 upon N2. So here E1 upon E2 is equal to I2 upon N1 I1, and E1 upon E2 is equal to N2 upon N1. So this is the final relation which you get. So I am saying E1 upon E2, sorry, it is N1 by N2. Okay, so E1 upon E2 is equal to I2 upon I1 is equal to N1 upon N2, or I can say that E1 upon E2 is equal to N1 upon N2, direct proportionality, and I2 upon I1 is equal to N1 by N2, inverse proportionality. Got it? So this was all about the EMF equation. This was the EMF equation, and this was the relation between the induced voltages and number of turns, and this is the relation between the currents that are flowing in the primary and secondary and the number of turns. Okay, and this E1 I1 is equal to E2 I2 is the relation between the power, primary power and secondary power. Okay, basically I wanted to not discuss this equivalent circuit, but I think it would be better that I discuss the losses in a transformer first. After that we will discuss about this equivalent circuit. So let us discuss about the losses. So losses in a transformer. Losses in a transformer. Basically, let me see, where is that page now? Yes, here. So look here, I'm telling you I have an electrical circuit here and an electrical circuit here, okay, and a magnetic circuit. So these two electrical circuits are coupled together through a magnetic circuit. So here we have this windings, primary windings, and here I have a secondary winding. So what I am saying, that these windings, they are made of conductors, and every conductor has some resistance. Okay, so if this coil, it has some resistance, there will be some drop, I square R loss. Okay, there will be I square R power loss in this winding electrical circuit and I2 square R2 loss in this secondary circuit, where R1 and R2 is the resistance of the primary and the secondary winding. So these are the copper losses. Okay, and there we have a magnetic circuit. I told you that this because of this hysteresis, and there are hysteresis and eddy currents that are flowing. Hysteresis loss in the circuit because of the hysteresis loop, and there are eddy current losses in this magnetic circuit core because of the eddy currents, circular currents that are produced on a surface. Okay, so I am saying this hysteresis and this eddy current losses, they are taking place in the core, okay, which are called as core losses, and the copper losses, they are taking place, it is occurring in the windings, primary and the secondary windings. So we have copper losses as well as the core losses. Okay, so I am talking about the transformer losses, page number 5 here. Losses in a transformer, I am saying I will have two types of losses. Number one is the winding losses. Winding losses, WIND, winding losses. So these losses are due to the resistance, due to the resistances of the primary and secondary winding and secondary windings. Suppose I am saying R1 and R2 are the resistances of the primary and the secondary losses. Okay, so I am saying resistances are made of copper, so this winding loss is also called as copper loss, copper losses. Okay, because winding material is made of copper, so these are also called as the copper losses. Suppose I am saying R1 and R2 are the resistances of primary and secondary winding. Okay, so and I1 and I2 currents are the currents in primary and secondary winding. Okay, so the total copper loss in the circuit, copper loss in transformer will be, what will be? It will be the summation of the loss in the primary winding and loss in the secondary winding. So total copper loss in transformer will be equal to copper loss. Copper loss is also called I square R loss. Copper loss in primary winding plus the copper loss in secondary winding. So the copper loss in the secondary winding, it is given by I2 square R2, where you know what is I2 and R2. Okay, so the total copper loss, I am representing it by P copper total. Okay, so it will be P copper primary plus P copper secondary. PCUP is the copper loss in the primary and PCUS is the copper loss in the secondary. So what is the copper loss in the primary? It is given by I1 square R1, and what is the copper loss in the secondary? It is given by I2 square R2. This is PCUT. Okay, you got the copper losses. You have two windings, two electrical circuit. In each electrical circuit, it has some resistance and some current that is flowing through it. And in the second circuit, you have some resistance and some current that is flowing through it. So because of the current and the resistance of each circuit, there will be copper losses in both the circuits. So the total copper loss will nothing but the summation of the two copper losses. Okay, so this is the winding loss. The second type of loss is that is taking place in the magnetic field, magnetic circuit. Second is core loss. Core loss means core loss, it is represented by I will say core loss, it is also called iron loss because it is taking place in the core na, and this core is made of iron material. So I am saying it is the loss occurring in the magnetic circuit, circuit. Magnetic circuit means core, and this core is made of iron material. That is why we are saying it is called as the, it is noted by Pi, that is the iron loss. Okay, so this core losses, they are categorized into two type of losses. The first is the hysteresis loss, and the second is the eddy current loss. So first I will talk about the first I will say eddy current loss. The second is hysteresis loss. Okay, so eddy current is denoted by PE and hysteresis is denoted by PH. Okay, we use the subscript according to the name. Got it? So this PE, I am first taking the eddy current loss. Eddy current loss is PE. Okay, I am saying that this is given by the formula, PE is given by the formula KE F square BM square into T square. Okay, where what is KE? KE is the Steinmetz coefficient. It is constant, it has a fixed value. So maybe if we will solve numerical at the end, so maybe I will show you this loss, but it is not important, because this transformer you will study in detail in your third semester in machines. So here it was only to give you an overview of the subject, but still I am going into too much detail. So K is the Steinmetz coefficient, F is the frequency, supply frequency, BM is the maximum flux density, and T is the thickness of lamination. Now the value of this T, it varies from 0.25 to 0.35 millimeter, because I told you this core, it is not made up of a solid. I'm saying suppose I'm saying it is not made up of this. I'm taking the L section of this core, suppose. So I'm saying this core is not made of this one solid material. So I'm saying it is made of thin laminations of, means instead of one solid piece, we are using very small surfaces, and we are joining them together, stacking them together, so to create a low core. So this laminations, using the laminations, it will reduce the eddy current losses, because we take the thickness here. T is the thickness of the lamination. This is T, which is very small, 0.25 to 0.35 mm. Okay, so and you know that E, what is your E? That is RMS, induced RMS. It is 4.44 F and phi m. Okay, so can I write it as 4.44 F, and phi is nothing but B m into AC, where AC is the area of the conductor, or area of cross section of the transformer. So I am saying from here I can I say that this BM, can I say that this BM is nothing but E divided by 4.44 F and AC. Okay, so look here, E is the induced EMF. So for a particular transformer, frequency is fixed, number of turns is fixed, and area of cross section is also fixed. We cannot change these things. AC is the area of cross section. Okay, I am saying that N is fixed and area of cross section is constant. Okay, so I can say that BM is proportional to E by F. Okay, I am saying it is proportional. I am not saying that it is equal, because we have a proportionality factor in between. Okay, I am saying that this is given by this formula. Okay, so I got the formula that BM is proportional to E by F. So in this eddy current losses, we will have two cases. The first case is when BM is constant. If BM is constant, means E by F is also constant. Okay, because the rest of the terms are constants. And the second is that when BM is not constant. Okay, so I will take the case first now. Means maximum flux density is constant or maximum flux density is not constant. So 6th 7th, case 1. Case 1 of eddy current loss is when I'm saying Bm is constant. Okay, when Bm is constant. So which implies that E by F is also constant. Okay, so I'm saying E by F is also constant. So what is PE? It is given by KE F square Bm square into T square. Okay, since I am saying that Bm is constant, okay, so Bm is constant, T is the thickness, it is also constant, K is a constant factor, so this K is also constant. So I will represent these constants by some another constant, or I can say this is constant, and this is constant, because I am assuming that Bm is constant. Thickness, obviously it will remain constant. So I can say that P is directly proportional to eddy current losses is directly proportional to frequency square. Okay, so if I will remove the constant of proportionality, I can firstly I will say here that this constant, I am representing it by some constant K into F square, where K, what is K? K is equal to KE into B max square into T square. Okay, since I am saying that Bm is constant, so Bm square is also constant. Thickness of the lamination, it will remain constant, and this is a constant. I am saying it is Siemens constant. It is a fixed value. So the product of these three, it will also remain constant. So I am representing it by K. So I am saying eddy current loss is equal to K into F square. So I can say that eddy current loss is directly proportional to frequency square. Okay, so from here I can say PE is directly proportional to frequency square, or PE is equal to K times F square. Got it? Case 2. I am saying case 2 when maximum flux density Bm is not constant. When it is not constant, that means E by F is also not constant. It is also not constant. So what will be PE? PE will be KE F square. Instead of Bm square, what I have derived here, Bm is equal to E by F. Okay, so I can say here Bm is equal to, I am writing another term here, Bm is equal to K1 E by F, where what is K1? K1 is nothing but 1 divided by 4.44 NAC. Okay, 4.1.44 NAC, because these are constants, so K1 is also a constant. So what is I am writing here, it is KE Siemens constant into F square, and the formula is into Bm square. Instead of Bm square, I will write K1, which I wrote it here, into K1 E by F whole square multiplied by T square. Are you getting it? When Bm is not constant. So this is Ke is constant. Okay, Ke is constant. So let me solve it further. So I am saying Ki is constant, square of Ki, K1 is constant, square of K1 will also be constant, and that constant multiplied by Ke, it is again constant. Okay, so I am representing it by K dash. Okay, so what I am left by F square multiplied by E square divided by F square multiplied by K T square. Okay, so F square cancel. This T is fixed. Okay, so I can write PE is equal to, instead of K dash, no, I will write T square multiplied by K dash is equal to K double dash E square. And what is K double dash? What is K double dash? K double dash is nothing but K dash into T square. Okay, got it? So which is nothing, what is K dash? K dash I am saying it is Ke into K1 square, so it will be T square. So K double dash will be given by this. So you got K, when I am saying when Bm is constant, so like eddy current loss is directly proportional to the frequency square. So I am saying when Bm is not constant, means maximum flux density is not constant, that time I can say that eddy current loss is directly proportional to the square of the induced voltage. Got it? Here it is proportional to the square of the frequency, and here it is proportional to the square of the induced voltage. So these are the two cases. Okay, got it. When maximum flux density is constant, I am saying eddy current loss is directly proportional to the frequency square, and when it is not constant, it is directly proportional to the square of the induced voltage. Got it? So next lesson, let us see about the hysteresis loss. Hysteresis loss, okay, denoted by pH. I told you pH is given by the formula pH is equal to KH B max raised to power X into frequency into, I am writing here, I will write volume. This is volume of the core, VOL, volume of the core. So volume of the core is fixed, you know. Okay, what is this BM? BM is the maximum flux density, and what is X? X is a value, X has a value of 1.6 for ferromagnetic material. Depending upon the value of, depending upon the type of material, X will change. Okay, again here I will take two cases, when maximum flux density is constant and when maximum flux density is not constant. Okay, so first case, case 1. What is the page number? 7. This is page number 8. I am saying case 1, when BM is constant. When BM is constant, which means E by F is constant. Got it? So I am saying when E by F is constant, so hysteresis loss is given by KH BM raised to power X into F into volume of the core. Okay, so from here I can say that volume is fixed, frequency is fixed, and this KH, it is a constant, Siemens constant, which is fixed. So from there I can say that pH, if I will take the product of, I am saying I have a new term, suppose I am saying I have a new term that I will label as, suppose I will label it as AH. Okay, AH BM raised to power X. Where what is AH? AH is nothing but the product of KH, frequency, and volume. Got it? So from here, wait a minute, it is not like that. What was the first case in case of eddy current? Okay, we are saying it was proportional to the frequency. Okay, got it. So I am saying that BM is fixed, so this is constant, KH is constant, volume is constant. So I am saying that pH will be equal to AH multiplied by F. What is AH? AH is nothing but KH constant BM raised to power X, which is constant, multiplied by volume. Okay, these are constants, so I am saying that pH will be directly proportional to frequency. Got it? Hysteresis loss will be directly proportional to the frequency in case of when the maximum flux density is constant. Number case 2. Case 2, when I am saying when B max is not constant. So it is not constant means E by F is also not constant. Okay, so what happened at that time? I am saying pH is equal to KH. So this I represented it by when I was representing B max in terms of E and F. What is the formula I was using? It was K1 E by F. It is K1 E by F raised to power X. X is nothing but 1.6. I will use 1.6 here. Okay, multiplied by F multiplied by volume. No, I am saying that E by F, it is not constant. Okay, E by F is not constant, and I am saying it is KH K1 raised to power 1.6 multiplied by E raised to power 1.6 multiplied by F raised to power 1 minus 1.6 multiplied by volume. Okay, so these two terms I am saying E by F is not constant, so I will keep them as it is, and this I know this is constant, this is constant, and this is constant. So I can represent this whole by one new constant K, this H. KH I have represented AH I will say represented by AH dash. Okay, so it will be this multiplied by this AH dash into e raised to power 1.6 multiplied by f raised to power minus 0.6. Okay, so this is my hysteresis loss here. So what is AH dash here? AH dash is nothing but K1 raised to power 1.6 multiplied by the volume. So from here you can say that pH is directly proportional to e raised to power 1 by 6 multiplied by f raised to power minus 0.6. Okay, so you got the 4 cases. First 2 cases for eddy current losses. So I'm saying when we have a constant magnetic flux density, eddy current losses are directly proportional to frequency square, and in case the maximum flux density is not constant, I am saying that this eddy current loss is directly proportional to the square of the induced voltage. However, in case of a hysteresis loss, I am saying that this when magnetic flux density is constant, I am saying that at that time hysteresis loss is directly proportional to frequency, and in case when maximum flux density is not constant, I am saying that hysteresis loss is directly proportional to the induced voltage raised to power 1.6 multiplied by the frequency raised to power minus 0.6. So this is all about the losses that are occurring in the transformer, that is core losses, which is classified as eddy current and hysteresis losses. So I will give some I will take 1 or 2 minutes to discuss about efficiency. If we have some input to the system, okay, here we have the input, here we have the output. Okay, so how much is the difference between the input and the output? It will give us efficiency. So suppose this is input, it is some energy or power. Okay, here we have output power, and some power is lost in the circuit in the form of the copper loss and core loss. Okay, so this input should be equal to the output plus losses. Okay, input is equal to the output plus losses. So what I am saying means lesser the losses, more will be the output. If more will be the output, more will be the efficiency. What do you mean by efficiency? If you are giving some input to the system, you are seeing how much output you are getting. Then you take the ratio of the output and input. So the ratio of the output by input will give you the efficiency. Okay, and obviously the efficiency will always be less than 100%. Okay, so that is efficiency is the next topic. For efficiency, please remember what is the formula, I have derived the formula for these losses. Remember this formula, because efficiency depends upon losses. If losses are less, efficiency will be high. If losses are high, efficiency will be low. So that is all about lecture number 32. In lecture number 33, I will continue about the exact equivalent circuit and transformer losses. I will try to finish that, and I will start with voltage regulation and efficiency. Thank you very much.